welcome back to the channel. Because what we just witnessed on General Hospital demands immediate, unfiltered processing. Let's get into it. Okay, I literally cannot believe this. Can we please process this mess together? I am sitting here in the dark, absolutely vibrating with a toxic mixture of adrenaline and sheer narrative shock. Because the writers just took the entire playbook, set it on fire, and threw it out the window of Windermere Castle. We have been watching this show for decades, grinding through the lore, analyzing every single frame of foreshadowing, and honestly, nothing could have prepared me for the absolute bloodbath that just went down on Spoon Island. I am severely sleep-deprived. My brain is short-circuiting, and I have officially decided to ditch the script because I need to talk about Jocelyn Jacks and the fact that she just crossed the line from which there is absolutely zero return. Might delete this later, but I seriously can't stay silent about this anymore. Look, we all knew Jocelyn was trapped in that subterranean nightmare cell. We knew Cassius parading around with Nathan West's face like some sick, twisted psychological torture device was pushing her to the absolute brink. But basically, we expected a standard soap opera rescue. We expected Jason to magically teleport from Jakarta or Daunt, to kick down the door, or even Dex to show up out of nowhere. Instead, the writers gave us a major flex. They gave us Jocelyn Jacks alone, terrified and backed into a lethal corner, weaponizing her own environment to survive. Listen, the build-up to this moment was a masterclass in claustrophobic tension. Jocelyn is sitting in that exact same cell where Anna Devane was held hostage. The historical weight of that room is low-key suffocating. She finds the makeshift weapons that Anna tucked away, pieces of rusted metal, sharp fragments of survival left behind by a super spy. Honestly, the symbolism here is just dripping off the screen. Jocelyn isn't just holding a weapon. She is holding the legacy of every woman who has ever been locked in a Cassadine dungeon and refused to die there. Suddenly, you can see the exact moment her golden girl innocence fractures, and the hardcore primal survival instinct of Carly Spencer's daughter takes the wheel. Suddenly, the heavy iron door swings open, and Cassius walks in with that infuriating, arrogant smirk. Look, Cassius has been single-handedly testing my sanity for weeks. He thought he had complete control. He thought Jocelyn was just another pawn in Jen Sidwell's grand, chaotic chessboard. But basically, he severely underestimated the sheer, unadulterated rage of a girl who has lost too much and is completely done playing the victim. Jocelyn doesn't just sit there. She explodes. The energy in the room instantly redlines, and she launches herself at him with a chair, completely shattering the illusion of his dominance. But wait, why are we like this? Why do we think a simple chair smash is going to end a phase on? Obviously, Cassius shakes it off. The fight instantly devolves into this brutal, terrifyingly realistic struggle. This isn't choreographed Hollywood perfection. This is raw, desperate, ugly survival. They are slamming into the stone walls, knocking over the sparse furniture, and Jocelyn is fighting for her absolute life. Honestly, the camera work here, the high-velocity handheld frequency makes you feel every single impact. You can practically feel the damp, freezing air of the Windermere catacombs as Jocelyn realizes that she is going to die in this room unless she does the unthinkable. Please tell me I'm not the only one losing my mind over this, because what happens next is permanently burned into my retinas. Jocelyn manages to grab one of Anna's makeshift weapons. She slashes. She pushes with every ounce of strength in her body, and Cassius loses his footing. He stumbles backward, his arms flailing. And then it happens. The sickening, visceral crunch that echoes through the cell. Cassius falls backward and his head slams directly into the jagged edge of a solid stone pedestal. The sound design in this scene deserves an Emmy because that impact was a total game changer. It wasn't a clean knockout. It was absolute terminal velocity trauma. Look, the silence that follows is deafening. Cassius slides to the floor, his eyes completely vacant. A dark pool of blood, rapidly expanding. Across the cold stone floor, Jocelyn is standing there, chest heaving, clutching a rusted piece of metal, staring at the corpse of the man who shares a face with the beloved Port Charles hero. Basically, in the span of about 90 seconds, Jocelyn Jacks went from a kidnapped college student to a killer. Yes, it was self-defense. Yes, it was him or her. But honestly, the psychological damage is instantly visible in her eyes. The writers didn't shy away from the horror. They zoomed right in on her existential collapse. Whoa, I've really gone off chasing butterflies into another dimension. Bringing the signal back, let's stick to the script, because the scene doesn't end with her just staring at the body. The survival instinct kicks into overdrive. Jocelyn realizes that Sidwell's men are patrolling the island. She knows that if she just stands there, she is going to be caught and Sidwell will not hesitate to put a bullet in her head. She has to get out. But the door is locked from the outside, and the only way out is through the keys currently sitting in the pocket of a dead man. Listen, the physical act of Jocelyn having to kneel down, her hands covered in blood, and dig through the pockets of a corpse is one of the darkest things the show has ever done. It is a massive traumatic threshold. She is sobbing, she is shaking, but she forces herself to do it. She grabs the heavy ring of keys, her fingers slipping on the blood, and she bolts for the door. The moment she turns that lock and steps out into the sprawling labyrinthine darkness of the Windermere catacombs, you realize that the old Jocelyn is completely irrevocably dead. She has officially entered the dark, violent ecosystem that her mother, her stepfather, Sonny, and Jason have inhabited for decades. Suddenly, she is running through the pitch-black tunnels. The catacombs under Spoon Island are legendary for being a death trap. Water is dripping from the ceiling. The shadows are playing tricks on her mind, and every single echo sounds like an approaching mercenary. She is clutching. Those keys and that makeshift weapon like they are her only tethers to reality. Honestly, I was holding my breath this entire sequence. The packing is absolutely relentless. You are just waiting for Ross Cullum or one of Sidwell's goons to jump out of the darkness and grab her. And then she hears footsteps, real frantic footsteps echoing off the damp stone walls. Jocelyn freezes. Her grip on the weapon tightens. She presses her back against the freezing wall, her heart hammering out of her chest. Preparing to fight for her life all over again. The footsteps get closer. Two figures emerge from the shadows. Jocelyn lunges ready to strike, ready to kill again if she has to, when suddenly a voice screams her name. It's Danny and Charlotte. Okay, I literally cannot believe this. The narrative collision here is absolute genius. You have Jocelyn, who just committed self-defense murder, literally colliding with Danny and Charlotte Cassadine, who are currently running for their absolute lives from Ross Cullum. Look, Danny and Charlotte broke into Windermere thinking they were going to play detective. They thought they could find dirt on Sidwell to free Jason. Instead, they got cornered by Cullum, a highly trained, utterly ruthless WSB director who knows how to make people disappear. They are terrified. They are in way over their heads, and they just bumped into a blood-soaked Jocelyn Jacks in the darkest pit of Port Charles. Basically, the dynamic shifts instantly. Jocelyn looks at these two terrified teenagers. She sees the absolute panic in Charlotte's eyes. She sees Danny trying to put on a brave face while internally freaking out. And in that exact fraction of a second, Jocelyn has to completely swallow her own shattered psyche. She cannot break down. She cannot process the fact that she just left a dead body in a cell down the hall. She has to be the adult. She has to be the protector. The sheer thematic weight of this moment is a low-key obsession of mine right now. Jocelyn is stepping into the shoes of Carly, of Jason, of every legacy character who has had to suppress their own trauma to keep the next generation alive. Listen to me, Ross Coulson is literally hunting them. Coulson is prowling those tunnels armed and dangerous, and he already suspects that Danny is the one who shot him on the pier. The stakes are absolutely astronomical. Jocelyn grabs Danny and Charlotte by the shoulders. She doesn't have time to explain the blood on her hands. She doesn't have time to explain that Cassius is dead. She just looks at them with this chilling, dead-eyed focus and tells them they need to move right now before Sidwell's men find the body and put the entire island on a lethal lockdown. Honestly, watching Jocelyn navigate these tunnels leading these two kids through the dark while actively suppressing a massive PTSD episode is a total game changer. The writers have completely leveled up her character. She is checking corners. She is listening for Coulson's heavy footsteps. She is utilizing every single ounce of survival knowledge she has ever absorbed from growing up in a mob. Family, it is a terrifying, beautiful, and deeply tragic evolution. She is saving their lives, but she is doing it at the cost of her own soul. Wait, why are we like this? Why do we subject ourselves to this level of emotional devastation? Because when GH gets it right, they get it so right. The tension of them trying to find an exit, knowing that Colum is right behind them, and Sidwell's guards are about to discover Cassius' corpse is the kind of television that keeps you awake at 3:00. If Colum catches them, he will not hesitate to eliminate Danny. If Sidwell's men catch them, Jocelyn will be executed for murdering Cassius. They are trapped in a literal pressure cooker, and Jocelyn is the only thing standing between these kids and a body bag. Look, I don't know how they are going to get off Spoon Island. I don't know how Jocelyn's going to explain to her mother or to Dante that she killed a man. I don't know how Danny and Charlotte going to process seeing Jocelyn covered in blood, realizing the true horror of the world they just tried to hack into. But basically, this is the most compelling television the soap genre has produced in years. The feedback loop of transcendent hype and absolute narrative betrayal is fully engaged, and I'm here for every single agonizing second of it. I need you guys to sound off in the comments right now. Are you as traumatized by this as I am? How is Jocelyn going to survive the psychological fallout of this kill?